Hi, I'm Douglas Pipher, and this is another episode of Selmer History. Today, we're going to talk about some archive records that have been the focus of lots of mythology over the years. For the past 40 years, it's been understood that the Elkhart archives are gone, missing, thrown out, destroyed, we don't know. However, I am here not in Paris as usual, but I'm in Elkhart today, and I want to talk about something exciting. Thanks to the efforts of Ryan Lillywhite, we have discovered some of the Selmer archives. Now, they're not complete, but what we do have is very exciting. We have archive records from 1927 through to 1963, with some gaps in between. These two filing cabinets have been discovered, as I said, in the back. So here, there's about 100,000 records. Unfortunately, they're not all SELMER Paris. There's SELMER Bundy records in here as well. But we do have, in these three trays, relatively complete records from 1927 through to middle of 1940 when the World War II stopped the production. Then there's a big gap from serial number roughly 30,000 to 102,000. We haven't found them. So they may be missing. They may be yet to be found, we're not sure. But in this filing cabinet is records from 102,000 up to almost 200,000. There's about 3,000 records per row, so 6,000 per tray. So let's take a look at what some of the records have. Here is one of the very earliest records. You can see a date, April 1st, 1927. The instrument is SELMER Paris baritone. This is a Series 1922 instrument, number 967. It was sold to Otto, don't know how to pronounce that word, but it was sold, it has the address in New Haven, Connecticut, May 25th, 1927. The reason this early record is in is because it was actually returned. So it may have been originally sold, I don't know, in 24, 25, 26. So we have some early records. There's actually an amusing story here. This is a SELMER Paris C Melody number 4049. It was sold to Mr. Brown in Janesville, Ohio, but he returned the instrument in August 1927, and it was later sold to Mr. Cutridge in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. However, that's serial number 4049. A couple of weeks later, Mr. Brown bought another one, number 4047. And then he returned that one as well. Very obviously a very picky customer. This one was actually returned on October 6th, but then on October 19th, 1927, it was shipped back to him. So whether they repaired it or just got tired of him returning instruments, we have no idea. Here is a fun one for me. This is serial number 20,000. This instrument is in my collection. It's a radio-improved tenor. Number 54 refers to tenor. L refers to a lacquered finish. This arrived from Selmer on January 16th, 1935. That's the invoice number. That's the amount they sold it for when they sold it to Brown's Music House in Reading, Pennsylvania. And this data, I believe, comes from a warranty card. It was sold from that store, sold to Earl Irch in Reading, Pennsylvania on March 15th, 1935. What this means with relatively complete records, up until today, anytime somebody asked me for information about a saxophone, I was forced to say, we don't know how it was finished. All we know is how it left SELMER Paris and the date it left. We now have the date the instrument arrived in Elkhart, for the most part, how it was finished, when it was sold, and in the early records, how much it was sold for, the store that it sold to, and in many cases, presumably through warranty cards, who the store sold that instrument to. So we actually know the first retail owner of that instrument. I don't need to tell you guys, this is really cool stuff, and I'm really excited, and Ryan is standing behind the camera grinning ear to ear as well. Like, this is really, really cool. So let's talk about the later ones. So as we said, from 30,000 to 102,000, the records are missing. So here's an example of 102,000. We no longer have finishing information. But we know it's a tenor, and we know it was sold to Frank R. Graham Music in Chicago, Illinois. Presume that's an invoice number. That's the date it shipped. There's the date it arrived. So this is really fascinating too. It arrived on October 9th, 1963. and it shipped out on October 31st. That means between the 9th and the 31st, it was torn down, polished, engraved, lacquered, set up, and made ready for shipment. That's pretty impressive turnaround, only a couple or 3 weeks to do all that work. And that seems to be a consistent number, 2, 3, 4 weeks between arriving from Selmer Paris and shipping out to a retailer. That's pretty cool. Now, the bad news is around serial number 115,000, the sales information stops recording the store and instead only records the date and the customer number. I presume that's the customer number. The downside is, as of today, we haven't discovered the customer number list. So this may be something we can work on. There may be more information coming on these, or we're done and all we have is a customer number. Even more frustrating is shortly, only about 9 months after that, they don't even have the customer number. They simply say sold. So the only effective information we have here is the model and type, which we already knew, the day it arrived at Selmer Elkhart, and I believe this is like the shipping number or a purchase order number. We're still working that out. So unfortunately, from about serial number 125,000, we really don't have a lot of additional information. So the rest of this filing cabinet is filled with records that simply say sold. All is not lost. There may be other sources here. We hope that there might be more information here. Only further digging will discover. So this brings us to the mythology. There has been a myth out there that I've heard for decades that a bunch of information was thrown out and Ralph Morgan saved some of it. And Ralph is no longer with us. So hopefully, if Ralph did save something, maybe this is what he saved and the rest is missing. We don't know. But if Ralph did save some records and they have been passed on to somebody, if you know anything about that, please get in touch with me, because as great a gift as this is, it's only about a quarter of what it could be. Thank you very much.